Hello, Void. Logan. Help. Oh, you're on the chair. Hello, dear Void and associated terrestrials. Sid is back with another week of crafty nonsense. First, a little bit of business. There will be no vlog next week because I will be out of town on my usual editing day, so I won't be filming daily vlogs this coming week. There will be a new video next Sunday. I don't know what it is, but there will be something going up next week. Anyway, in terms of what I got done this week, my first week on the new 6 to 2:30 Sunday through Thursday schedule. On Monday, I started cutting out pattern pieces and mock-up fabric for a dog costume that I'm working on. On Tuesday, that mock-up was assembled and marked up, and I started drafting the modifications I was going to make to the pattern. On Wednesday, everything got cut out, reassembled, and I started communicating with the client on what further modifications needed to be made. On Thursday, it was my Friday, and I was done with things, so I spent a little time in the evening building in Terraria. On Friday, I was having a nice day off, being domestically productive but also relaxed, until my computer exploded. So the adventure of that is leading to a postscript of doing some basket weaving out of computer wiring. I'd say stick around to the preview for a preview, but since there's no vlog next week, there's no preview, but there's a little bit of a fortune there for you. Enjoy the time lapses. Hey Void, happy Monday. I'm hanging out outside because I can see blue sky for the first time in almost a week. And I'm home from work, I've visited a friend, I had a snack, and it's still daylight out, and that feels great. My studio does need some work, but who cares? It feels wonderful to have a luxurious afternoon to putter around in my studio without having to worry about making dinner or hustling to bed right away. I hear you thinking, that was an interesting garment Sid was wearing yesterday. It was an interesting garment. I made that dress close to 10 years ago out of some stretchy tiger stripe material. It was super simple. There's a seam behind the neck for the halter and a seam down the back to bring the skirt together, and the rest of it, it was open back and really, really simple and slinky and just draped on me nicely. I loaned it to a friend so they could pattern it and like duplicate it for themselves, and didn't get it back for like 6 years. I just got it back like a month ago. But in those ensuing 6 years, my style has changed a lot. And so like the slinky, drapey animal print isn't really my thing anymore. It isn't my thing right now. But I put it on out of nostalgia's sake because it's just, even though it's polyester, it just feels really good. And I was playing with it partly because I just got it back, but also because it's the best fabric I had to use as a mock-up for the dog costume that I'm making. But I'm like, I don't wear this anymore. And it's so simple, it's so basic, but I don't want to cut it up. And at the 11th hour, I found some other stretchy stuff that I can use instead. But so now I'm setting it aside to either give to somebody who will love it as much as I have in the past, or just like maybe it'll be my jam again in the future. And it'll hang around for that. So I was good last night and didn't run everything through my serger for the mock-up, and so I'm going to do that now. Sid popping in to give you a little bit of context update here. Since I'm going for a Star Trek TNG uniform, I want it to look like a jumpsuit that has color blocking on it. So first step was to make the jumpsuit, and then when I had that initial mock-up, stuff it and draw on the color blocking designs. Then I had to separate all of those pieces, both along the initial seams and then along the color block designs. Then I transferred the squidgey fabric pieces to copy of the original pattern to draw the color blocking lines exactly as that original pattern was. Then when I had the color block lines on the perfect shape, I cut up the duplicate pattern along those color block lines, transfer it to another set of paper to add seam allowance along my new lines so that when I cut out the color block mock-up, seam allowance would be included on everything all around and I wouldn't have to guess what's a new cut, what's an old cut. I hope that makes sense. Hello, Void. We'll catch up later. Correcting myself on my poor memory. Looks like for the color-blocked mock-up, I did just eyeball the seam allowances from that brown pattern, and the retracing those for a solid pattern, a flat solid pattern, is still to come. Hey Void, how's it going? I think it's Wednesday today, but it's my Thursday. I get very confused when I'm working off outside the normal work week. So it took about 33 minutes for me to get everything cut out, and that included some testing about how I was going to mark it, and you can see that I eventually just gave up. The next step is to take all of this and put it together in a single, put it back together in the typical pattern pieces, so do all the piecing. Here's what we're looking at. That's roughly laid out as it will be. The collar's over here, and the sleeves are splayed, but like the main body piece is reconstituted as it will be. So the exciting part, the excited part of me wants to rush back to my searcher and piece everything together and see how it like gels now that I've added all the seam allowances, but serging like binds things together with 4 threads and is not easy to undo, and it also trims a little bit. So the wise thing to do at this point would be to retrace these pattern pieces with the seam allowance included that I've added included onto pattern paper again, and like on flat pattern paper that's not going to curl, so it will be more durable going forward. And I'm thinking about like the people I know, and like even myself in the past will be like, I should do this, but I'm lazy, and then not do it and it cause problems down the line. And I'm especially thinking about problems down the line because this is going to be something where I make a bunch of them instead of just like a one-off where kind of like, oh, whatever, no mock-up. So I'm thinking about affirmations, like the things you say you are the things that you end up being. I'm not big into affirmations until I saw it as an honest kind of self-talk where you find in yourself a kernel of truth that you're repeating, rather than just like making up a trait wholesale that you don't even believe in yourself, but you say, it's an affirmation, so I'm going to affirm myself and say that this is true. For it to work, in my experience, in my opinion, you have to honestly believe it, but if you believe it and say it, you are more likely to enact it. I'm sure there are like principles for this kind of thing, but you do have to believe it in yourself. So I'm not going to say that, oh, I'm lazy and I feel like winging it. I'm going to say, I want to do the wise thing, and I want to be good to my future self, and in the future I want to thank my past self for making this decision. So I'm going to get out some big paper, trace all of this, so I have a separate set of patterns set aside, and then also everything together. It made so much sense at the time, but why did I trace the fabric and not the pattern? Why? Back then it didn't even occur to me to just do the paper to paper and then to fabric. Didn't have to go paper, fabric, paper at this point. Why? I just wanted to see if this works. Nice. That was fun. Celebrating the return of my sit down and chat tripod with a little sit down and chat about something I was thinking about a lot during both of the past days when I've been basically doing every single part of this project for the last 2 days. From cutting to sewing. That's, those are the main 2 parts. From tracing to cutting to sewing. There's a YouTube person who does cooking videos. Like a guy in a kitchen with his camera. Adam Ragusia? I think that's his name. And he talks about why he doesn't think knife skills are important. And he's specifically talking to his general YouTube audience, which is a lot of home cooks. Like, he's not a professional, he's not talking to professionals, he's talking to normal people. I'm like imitating his cadence a little bit just because that's how my brain goes. And he says knife skills aren't important because for normal people, because they don't save you that much time in the kitchen. They might save you 30 seconds, a couple minutes if you're cooking for, a normal amount of people. Who's cooking for more than like 2 or 3 these days? But it's not that, it's the cost of going slower is not worth the loss of safety. He says it's better to walk, not run, to go slow and be safe than try to use all the techniques that a professional would use to get through chopping very quickly. And so I'm thinking about that as I'm cutting and as I'm sewing. I don't need to run through this. I have a tendency towards being very energetic and wanting to move quickly and wanting to get to the next stage very quickly. But throughout this whole season and new phase in my crafting, I'm slowing down. I'm doing more. I'm doing a lot. I'm still being aggressive with my projects, but in individual stages, I'm slowing down and doing it better and doing it safer. Instead of trying to run my sewing machine or my serger at the top speed that I can manage, I'm being willing to go slower and be tidier and be more precise. Stop more times to adjust the seam and make sure every single layer is getting in there. And I'm really pleased that I did. There's still, the spandex is so squidgy. It's so squidgy. So I'm still losing bits here and there. I'm even as many duplications as I've gone through. Tracing, cutting, retracing, recutting, retracing, recutting again. It's like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. I could be getting a lot of pattern degradation because it's so gosh darn squidgy, but things are still lining up in pretty neat ways. I did go a little off book with the chest detail, and so changing that, I'm going to need to go back to the original pattern a little bit and to even up the symmetry in how the chest is connecting. For the most part, the whole process of color blocking, adding seam allowance, it came together tidy again. It fit back together properly, and I'm so pleased with that. I want to practice a little more with setting in positive corners, so the back point, the low point on the back, will just can have excellent tidiness, but level up. Feels good. Walk, don't run. You can go far on steady feet. Hey Void. It's Thursday. It has been a day, a week, and a month But for me, mostly good things, and I feel really lucky to have that. Today is my Friday, and I'm off work at last, and I'm home, and I think that I'm gonna take the night off. I think that I need to force myself to veg a little bit, and I'll have all day tomorrow to do stuff. It'll be really exciting. Happy Thursday. Let yourself relax a little. That's better. Today is Terrestrial Friday, but it's my Saturday, which means I have the day off. I don't have to go to work. For the first time in quite a while, I have the freedom and flexibility to really take the day off. So I'm going to spend it, I hope to spend it feeling my way through the day rather than doing my way through the day, and try to keep myself as happy and content as possible, which means doing what I feel like doing and changing my environment to make me happy rather than because I think I should. I really don't know how much I'm gonna get done today, and I'm okay with that, and that makes me happy. Hey Void, postscript to Friday. My day on Friday got thrown for a loop because around 4:30 we had a flicker and power outage, after which my desktop PC wouldn't turn back on. I didn't need it specifically on Friday, but I would need it Saturday morning to do editing because it's my main workhorse computer. I built it back in 2016 after not building a PC for 4 or 5 years. It's a skill I picked up in high school, and I'm glad that I have, but it's not something I use on a regular basis or care to keep up with in particular. And so it's not really a topic for this vlog that I build computers. It is important for me to mention it because I'm proud that when my computer breaks down, I ask for advice, but I don't necessarily need to ask for help. I got some feedback from people who are more technically inclined than I am, and did a little test, and ended up going to Fry's, buying a new one, and opening up my computer, unplugging everything, putting a new one in, plugging everything back in, reassembling, rebooting. It's working fine now. And I like that that's in my skill set. That I like that I wasn't... And I just appreciate that that's in my skill set and that I wasn't completely helpless when something went wrong with my computer. Even though I was kind of hoping that it was going to be the motherboard, not the power supply, so I could somewhat justify buying a new laptop, even though now is not the time. Hopefully, this new power supply will bring a couple more years back into the life of this PC. Though now I will be thinking more seriously about backing up and making sure that my files are accessible if something does happen to this one. And so this postscript is me not feeling great about just chucking the old power supply. I harvested wires out of the cabling and, made a little spooky Halloween candy dish out of them. I know nothing about basket weaving, and I know even less about finishing basket weaving, but this is just something I pulled together with the wires that were available to me. Before all this, Friday was domestically productive in taking care of some chores that had been lingering and cleaning up my room a little, even though the PC debacle ended up making my room a wreck again. There's always more time for that later. Now that I have a basket, I suppose I need to go get some Halloween candy. Anyway, again, no preview, no vlog next week. I'll still be making things, but I don't know what they are. So, as you ride off into your sunset, no matter what time of day it is, take with you this fortune. Vines climbing through a gazebo of rusty pipes. Leave a comment below to see the fortune for next week. Have a good 2 weeks, Void. End transmission. Hey Void, I'm sure you already know this, being the Void and all, but Kura lost her litter yesterday. That's the dog whose puppies I was making these costumes for. So, unfortunately that project has to go on in indefinite hold. It's a pretty sad day for that community, and my heart goes out to them.